Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the wildest, most controversial events in World Cup history. We're talking about a moment that literally broke the spirit of competition and forced FIFA to change its rulebook after an unforgettable international shame. It wasn't a terrible foul that caused this, but a massive flaw in the very rules meant to protect the game. Now, if you're a football fan, you know the absolute thrill of the final group stage day, right? You've got two screens going, watching simultaneous matches, frantically tracking the live standings as they bounce around. But it wasn't always this chaotic, beautiful mess. To understand why this simultaneous scheduling exists today, we've got to rewind to the exact day the old system completely, spectacularly failed. Okay, Section 1, setting the stage in 1982 Group 2 dynamics. Let's get right into it. So picture this. We're in a group with absolute heavyweights, like West Germany, the reigning European champs, and a really strong Austrian side. Enter debuting Algeria, and man, they went on a historic run. They actually became the first African or Arab team to beat a European powerhouse. Day 1, they pull off a massive 2-1 shocker over West Germany, widely called the biggest upset since '66. Sure, they stumbled a bit against Austria on Day 2, but they bounced right back to beat Chile 3-2 on Day 3. They did absolutely everything they possibly could to prove they belonged in the knockouts. But here is the massive catch. Algeria played their final match a full 24 hours before West Germany and Austria faced each other. Just think about that. Because of how the schedule was set up, the Algerian squad literally had to sit in their hotel rooms, crossing their fingers, completely at the mercy of the European teams. They essentially handed the steering wheel over to their rivals. Take a look at this table. The math here is exactly what set the trap. Back then, a win got you 2 points. Because Algeria was already done playing, their points and goal difference were locked in stone at 4 points and a 0 goal difference. Meanwhile, Austria was sitting pretty at +3, and West Germany was at +2. The stage was set so perfectly that every single possible outcome of this final game was known in advance. So what does this all mean? Well, it created a massive mathematical loophole. Both West Germany and Austria knew exactly what they needed. If Austria won or drew, they both go through. If West Germany won by 3 or more, they go through with Algeria. But if West Germany won by exactly 1 or 2 goals, that was the magic number. That specific result was the only mutually beneficial outcome that would knock Algeria out on goal difference. It was literally the perfect storm of aligned incentives. Which brings us to Section 2, the Disgrace of Gijón, June 25, 1982. We're inside the El Molinón Stadium. Over 41,000 fans are expecting a fierce, competitive rivalry match. And honestly, it started out that way. In the 10th minute, Horst Hrubesch scores for West Germany, making it 1-0. For those first 10 minutes, it looked like a totally normal, high-stakes football match. West Germany was pressing hard, creating chances, and boom, they got the goal. The exact scoreline both teams mathematically needed. But that early goal, it triggered 80 staggering minutes of absolute standstill. Neither team made a genuine effort to attack after that. Once that ideal 1-0 scoreline hit, it was like a silent alarm went off and just sucked the competitive life right out of the stadium. Players stopped making runs, tackles just evaporated. The remaining 80 minutes became this slow, deliberate exercise in killing time. Just look at these second-half stats to get a sense of how absurd this was. A 99% pass completion rate for Austria and 98% for West Germany sounds incredible, right? Until you realize they were literally just tapping the ball harmlessly backward in their own halves. Just 3 total shots, none on target, and barely any tackles. Keep in mind this was before the modern back pass rule, so if an opponent even jogged nearby, they just passed it back to the goalie to pick up. It was cooperation taken to an absolute extreme. Let's move to Section 3. Outrage and FIFA's verdict. Unsurprisingly, this deliberate inaction sparked instant global outrage. Fans in the stadium were waving banknotes, chanting for the players to kiss. The disgust was so universal that the Austrian TV commentator Robert Seeger actually pleaded with his viewers on live television to turn off their sets, saying this is not sport. Think about how crazy that is. A national broadcaster telling his own country not to watch their team at a World Cup. His West German counterpart reportedly just stopped commentating altogether. Meanwhile, the eliminated Algerian squad maintained total dignity. Defenders Shaban Mirzakhane said they weren't even angry, they were just cool to see 2 big powers debasing themselves, and that Algeria went out with their heads held high. They had won over neutral fans worldwide. To get knocked out by a cynical math pact rather than actual football was a bitter pill. But they knew they had exposed a massive, glaring flaw in the tournament's design. The media reaction was equally brutal. In a brilliant piece of journalistic protest, the local Spanish newspaper El Comercio didn't even print the match report in its sports pages. They stuck it right in the crime section. The French daily L'Equipe argued there should have been 22 red cards handed out. Everyone agreed the spirit of the game had been murdered in broad daylight. The match was instantly branded with names that highlighted this collusion. In Germany, it became infamous as the Non-Aggression Pact of Gijon. Globally, we know it as the Disgrace or Scandal of Gijón. Back at their hotel, furious German fans literally pelted their own team with eggs and water bombs. It became the ultimate textbook example of what happens when tournament structures reward self-preservation over actually playing the game. So what did FIFA do? Well, despite Algeria lodging an official complaint of match fixing, FIFA was completely embarrassed to admit that their hands were tied. Their verdict? No written rules were broken, so the result stands. Technically, passing backwards and protecting a lead didn't violate any laws. After a massive 3.5-hour meeting, FIFA had to concede there was no rule saying a team had to actively try to score. The referee couldn't force them. Algeria's heartbreaking elimination was finalized. But this brings us to Section 4, changing football rules forever. FIFA realized they couldn't punish the players, but driven by the sheer public shame of Gijon, they knew they urgently had to fix the rules. Starting with the 1986 World Cup, they mandated that all final group games had to kick off at the exact same time. By forcing simultaneous matches, FIFA completely killed that information advantage. You can't just casually pass the ball around to protect a 1-0 lead anymore, because you have no clue if a sudden goal in the other stadium might knock you out. It injects uncertainty, and that uncertainty forces teams to compete. Now, the immediate irony of the 1982 tournament was that, despite this whole scandal, West Germany actually reached the final, while Algeria was out in the first round. Austria fizzled out in the second round, and West Germany eventually lost to Italy. So this cynical calculation cost Algeria everything, but it didn't even win the ultimate prize for the teams that disgraced themselves to advance. But the true, lasting legacy of Algeria's elimination is this universal rule that protects the integrity of the game today. Whenever you're glued to your seat watching a tense final day of the Champions League, or that thrilling, simultaneous drama of a modern World Cup where every single goal wildly shifts the standings, well, you have the 1982 Algerian team and the shame that forced FIFA to change its rules to thank for that suspense. But wait, this hard-learned lesson is actually under threat right now. With the 2026 World Cup expanding to 48 teams, FIFA's initial plan suggested 16 groups of 3 teams. And mathematically, odd-numbered groups make simultaneous final games impossible. One team is always resting while the other two play the decider. It's literally the exact same structural flaw from 1982, potentially resurrected for the modern era. As researchers at Cermix pointed out, 3-team groups are a terrible step back because they mathematically recreate that exact same dangerous loophole. Think about it. If Team A and Team B know exactly what result gets them both through at the expense of the resting Team C, the temptation to collude or just play non-aggressive football goes through the roof. The math almost demands it. So, it leaves us with a critical question to end this explainer. As tournament formats continue to evolve for profit and scale, will the ghost of 1982 return to haunt the beautiful game? Are we doomed to repeat this if we forget the mathematical lessons of the Disgrace of Gijón? We've learned you can't just rely on the honor system. You have to design rules to protect the sport from itself. Thanks for joining me on this one, and keep asking the right questions about the rules that govern the sports we love.